1.1 Objectives. Students will be able to study about insects fossils and fossils preservation. Students will understand the essential characteristics of freshwater and marine insects fossils. Students will be able to make study on compressions, impression and mineralization. Students will be able to understand evolutionary history in Devonian, Carboniferous, Permian, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, Paleogene, Neogene in different periods. Students learn about phylogeny, evolutionary relationships, taxonomy, early evidence, origin of insect flight and different theories. 1.2 Introduction. The evolution of insects was based on studies of the following branches of science: molecular biology, insect morphology, paleontology, insect taxonomy, evolution, embryology, bioinformatics and scientific computing. It is a recent understanding. The estimation of the class of insect originated on Earth approximated 480 million years ago, in the Ordovician, in the same time of terrestrial plants appeared. Evidences occurred that the insects may have evolved from a group of crustaceans. The primitive insects were landbound, but before 400 million years ago in the Devonian period one lineage of insects evolved flight. The oldest insect fossil has been proposed to be Rhyniegnatha hursti, estimated to be 400 million years old, but the insect identity of the fossil has been decided. Worldwide climate conditions changed several times during the past of Earth, and along with it the variation of insects. The winged insects pterogoats underwent a major radiation in the Carboniferous, 356 to 299 million years ago, while the insects that go through different life stages with metamorphosis, Endopterygota, underwent another major radiation in the Permian, 299 to 252 million years ago. Survivors of the mass extinction at the Permian-Triassic boundary evolved in the Triassic to what are essentially the modern insect orders that persists to modern times. Insect families of most modern time appeared in the Jurassic, and further diversity probably in genera occurred in the Cretaceous. It is believed that by the Tertiary there existed many of what are still modern genera, hence most insects in amber are indeed member of extant genera. 2. 1.3 Origin of insects. There is a Cambrian explosion before 500 million years ago, a remarkable evolutionary event. During this period the emergence of a plethora of life forms, some gigantic, other small, some that lived on land and other in water. Giant insects, some with wingspans of 2.3 feet, inhabited the Earth made their first appearance before 412 million years ago. Biologists analyze that insect become top predators for nearly 100 million years ago. The most devastating mass extinction period means Permian-Triassic (PT) extinction event that the Earth has ever witnessed. Nearly 90% of all life forms extinct. These extinctions continued for nearly 12 million years, around 251 million years ago, and the insects took a massive beating. 8 orders of insects were completely extinct and 10 insect orders lost a majority of their species. Evolutionists believe that 30% of the insects were lost during this period and some without even leaving a trace of their existence. The surviving orders, however, adapted for surviving and evolved to occupy every possible nook and corner of the planet. Most modern-day insects originated after Permian-Triassic (PT) extinction period. The parallel survival of plant species further assisted their expansion. Together, insects and flowering plants populated the Earth. And now, once again the insects are being challenged by what evolutionists call the 6th extinction event. 1.4 Evolution. Insect evolution is characterized by rapid adaptation with selective pressure exerted by environment, with rapid adaptation being furthered by their high fecundity. It appeared that rapid radiation and the appearance of new species, a process that continues to this day, result in insects filling all available environmental niches. 1.4.1 Evolutionary history. The insect fossil record found back of 400 million years ago to the Lower Devonian. The pterogoats, winged insects, faced a major radiation in the Carboniferous period. The paragoats insects faced a major radiation and the Endopterygota faced another major radiation in the Permian period. Modern insects order re-originated and survived after Permian and Triassic 3. Extinction. More modern insect families appeared in the Jurassic, and further variation and diversification probably in genera occurred in the Cretaceous. By the Tertiary, there existed many of what are still modern genera, hence, most insects in amber are, indeed, members of extant genera. Into essential modern form most insects diversified in only about 100 million years. Insect evolution occurred due to height fecundity and environmental pressure created. The insect regular filling the all availability in environmental niche and changes accordingly. The insects regularly changes itself according to the changes in flowering plants and other vegetation present around it. It is due to dependent of insects on their environment. The evolution of insects is closely related to the evolution of flowering plants. Insect adaptations include feeding on flowers and related structures, with some 20% of extant insects depending on flowers, nectar or pollen for their food source. This symbiotic relationship is even more paramount in evolution considering that more than 2/3 of flowering plants are insect pollinated. Which insect have to created the diseases on animals, they are responsible for the decimation or extinction of some mammalian species. 1.4.1.1 Devonian. 419 to 359 million years ago was a warm period without any glaciers is known as Devonian period. The first insects probably appeared in the Silurian period, and probably insects got wings in Devonian according to the phylogenetic study. The fossil records are not well known about of this. The fossils that were considered as Devonian insects, such as Rhyniegnatha hursti or Strudiella devonica, are studied that affinities as insects are insufficient. The entomologists found the first complete insects in the late Devonian period, 425 to 385 million years ago. This observation reduces a previous gap of 45 million years in the evolutionary history of insects. In this period the insect's body segments, legs and antennae are visible, however genitalia were not preserved. Both the above-mentioned species represents new species. Insect without wing but it may be a juvenile. 1.4.1.2 Carboniferous. 359 to 299 million years ago is famous period for its wet, warm climates and extensive swamps of mosses, ferns, horsetails, and calamites is known as Carboniferous. Glaciations of the Carboniferous continued into the Permian and because of the lack of clear markers and breaks, the deposits of this glacial period are often referred to as Permo-Carboniferous in age. Due to cooling and drying of the climate, Carboniferous rainforest have collapsed. All remaining of insects are scattered throughout the coal deposits, particularly of wings from cockroaches deposits in particular are in France. The earliest winged insects are from this time period Pterygota, including the aforementioned Latodia, Colonerodia, primitive stem group Ephemeropterans, Orthoptera, Paleodictyopteroidea. In 1940, the largest complete insect wing ever found is a fossil of Meganeuropsis americana, Fig. 01. Juvenile insects are also known from the Carboniferous period. Fig. 01. Meganeuropsis americana, fossil member. Restoration of Mesotteros, a Carboniferous member of the now extinct order Paleodictyoptera. The primitive Blatopterans had a large, disciform pronotum and leathery forewings with a distinct cup vein, a unbranched wing vein, lying near the claval fold and reaching the wing posterior margin. These were false characteristics of cockroaches, as they had an ovipositor, although through the Carboniferous, the ovipositor started to diminish. The previous orders Colonerodia and Myomoptera recently known, with Orthoptera and Latodia to be among the earliest Neoptera which is evoluted from the upper Carboniferous to the Permian. These insects had wings with similar form and structure, small anal lobes. Species of Orthoptera, like grasshoppers and related and adaptive for jumping, hind legs is preserved. 1.4.1.3 Permian. The Permian 290 to 245 million years ago, during which all the Earth's major land masses were collected into a single supercontinent known as Pangaea. At the end of the Permian, the biggest mass extinction in history occurred, collectively called the Permian-Triassic extinction event. 30% of all insect species became extinct. This is one of 3 known mass insect extinctions in Earth's history. 2007 study based on DNA of living beetles and maps of likely beetle evolution 5. Indicated that beetles may have originated during the lower Permian, up to 299 million years ago. During this time, many of the species from the Carboniferous diversified, and many new orders developed, including Proplytroptera, primitive relatives of Plecoptera, Paraplecoptera, Socoptera, Mecoptera, Coleoptera, Rhaphidioptera, and Neuroptera, the last 4 being the first definitive records of the Holometabola. 1.4.1.4 Triassic. A period 252 to 201 million years ago is known as the Triassic. During the Triassic, almost all the Earth's land mass was still concentrated into Pangaea, was when arid and semi-arid savannas developed and when the first mammals, dinosaurs, and pterosaurs appeared. The climate was hot and dry, forming typical red bed sandstones and evaporites during the Triassic. There is no evidence of glaciations at or near either pole. In fact, the polar regions were apparently moist and temperate, a climate suitable for reptile-like creatures. There is only little fossil record of insects including beetles from the lower Triassic. However, there are a few exemptions, like in Eastern Europe entire specimen of the infraorders Archostomata, i.e., Atomocinidae, Schizocolidae, Adephaga, i.e., Triploidae, Trachypatchidae, and Polyphaga, i.e., Hydrophilidae, Burridae, Elatoroidea, and in nearly a perfectly preserved condition. However, species from the families Cupetidae and Schizophoroidae are not present at this site, whereas they dominate at other fossil sites from the lower Triassic. Around this time, during the late Triassic, Mystophagus, or fungus-feeding species of beetle, i.e., Cupetidae, appear in the fossil record. In the stages of the upper Triassic, representatives of the Algophagus, or algae-feeding species, i.e., Triploidae and Hydrophilidae, begin to appear, as well as predatory water beetles. The first primitive weevils appear, i.e., Obrienidae, as well as the first representatives of the robe beetles, i.e., Staphylinidae, which show no marked difference in physique compared to recent species. This was also around the first time evidence of diverse freshwater insect fauna appeared. During the Triassic, Hemiptera included the Cercopidae, the Cicadelidae, the Sixidae, and the Membracidae. Coleoptera included the Carabidae, the Staphylinidae, and the Trachypatchidae. Hymenoptera included the Xylidae have appeared. Thysanoptera first appeared as well as Diptera included the Anisopodidae, the Chironomidae, and the Tipulidae are of some of the oldest living families appear. The first true species of Diptera are known from the Middle Triassic and Late Triassic. 6. 1.4.1.5 Jurassic. There is warm and humid climate in Jurassic period. It is during 201 to 145 million years ago. During this period it was important in one of the insect's major predators and the development of birds. Approximate 150 important sites with beetle fossils are in many important sites in Eastern Europe and North Asia. In North America there are only a few sites with fossil records of insects in the Jurassic period. In Asia and Europe numerous deposits of other insects are occur. During the Jurassic there was a dramatic increase in the known diversity of family-level Coleoptera. The development and growth of carnivorous and herbivorous species includes in this. Close to the upper Jurassic, decreased the copepod portion, however increased the diversity of the early plant-eating, or phytophagous species at the same time. Most of the recent phytophagous species of Coleoptera feed on flowering plants or angiosperms. 1.4.1.6 Cretaceous. Approximately 145 to 66 million years ago the Cretaceous had much of the same insect fauna as the Jurassic not after. 1/3 of Earth's present land area was submerged at the peak of the Cretaceous transgression. It had been seen in the last epoch of the Jurassic in which the Berriasian epoch showed a cooling trend. Snowfalls were common in the higher latitudes and the tropics became wetter than during the Triassic and Jurassic, it is evidence. From the Cretaceous there are a large number of important fossil sites worldwide containing beetles. During the Cretaceous most of them are located in Europe and Asia and belong to the temperate climate zone. During the Cretaceous the diversity of Cupetidae and Archostomata decreased considerably. There is distribution of different pattern of predatory ground beetles Carabidae, and rogue beetles Staphylinidae, whereas in the warm region the Carabidae predominantly occurred. Preference of many areas with temperate climate the Staphylinidae and click beetles Elateridae are found. Likewise, there is hunted their prey under the bark of trees together with the jewel beetles Buprestid, by predatory species of Claroidea and Cucujoidea. The primary consumers of wood, the jewel beetles' diversity increased rapidly during the Cretaceous, while longhorn beetles Cerambicidae were rather rare and their diversity increased only towards the end of the Upper Cretaceous. 7. 1.4.1.7 Paleogene. From this era there are many fossils of beetles known, though the beetle fauna of the Paleocene, 65 to 56 million years ago, is comparatively poorly investigated. Beetle fauna is very good in contrast. The knowledge on the Eocene while there are many fossils of beetles known from this era, though the beetle fauna of the Paleocene is comparatively poorly investigated. The reason is the occurrence of fossil insects in amber and clay slate sediments. Amber is fossilized tree resin, that means it is not consists of minerals, it consists of fossilized organic compounds. Location, age and species of the resin-producing plant, distinguish the different type of amber. Amber is most important for the research on the Oligocene beetle fauna, Baltic and Dominican. The first butterflies are from the Upper Paleogene, while most, like beetles, already had recent genera and species already existed during the Miocene, however, their distribution differed considerably from today's. 1.4.1.8 Neogene. The Neogene 23 to 0 million years ago is most important sites for beetle fossils are situated in the warm temperate and to subtropical zones. During the Miocene many recent genera and species already existed, however, the distribution differed considerably from today's. The most important fossil sites for insects of the Pliocene is Willershausen near Göttingen, Germany with most preserved beetle fossils of various families, longhorn beetles, weevils, ladybugs and others, as well as representatives of other orders of class insect. Well-known fauna of beetle is in the Pleistocene, since the composition of the beetle fauna has been used to reconstruct climate conditions. 1.5 Phylogeny. We believe is the world's oldest known full-body impression of a primitive flying insect, a 300 million-year-old specimen from the Carboniferous period. Millipedes and centipedes are closely related to crustaceans. Millipede centipedes, scorpion and spider are sometimes confused that they are very similar to insects with their body plans. From the 396 million-year-old Rhynie-chert fossils is the oldest definitive insect fossil is the Devonian Rhyniegnatha hursti. It is superficially resembled a modern-day silverfish, order Thysanura, insect. This species already possessed dicondylic mandibles, 2 articulations in the mandible. It is a wingless insect but have 8. Character associated with winged insects. It is evidence that wings may already have evolved at this time. In the Silurian period, it seemed that the first insects probably appeared earlier. There have been 4 super radiations of insects. Beetles evolved around 300 million years ago, flies evolved around 250 million years ago, moths and wasps evolved around 150 million years ago. These 4 groups account for the majority of described species. Mecopteri evolved the flies and moths along with the fleas. The origins of insect flight remain not well known, since the earliest winged insects currently known appear to have been capable flyers. Some extinct insects had an additional pair of winglets attaching to the first segment of the thorax, for a total of 3 pairs. There is no evidence that suggests that the insects were a particularly successful group of animals before they evolved to have wings. The record of insect fossil extends back some 400 million years to the Lower Devonian, while the pterygotes winged insects undergo a major change in the Carboniferous. The Endopterygota undergo another major change in the Permian. In the Jurassic period most modern insect families appeared, and further modification probably in genera occurred in the Cretaceous. In essential modern form the insects have diversified in only 100 million years. The insect have evolutes due to rapid adaptation by selective pressure of climatic conditions and their high fecundity. Regular adaptations result was new species formation. This process was continued till now, its result that the insects filling all available environmental niches. Approximately 20% of extant insects were depending on flowers, nectar or pollen for their food source and the symbiotic relationship is even more paramount in evolution considering that more than 2/3 of flowering plants are pollinated by insect. The extinction of some mammalian species was done by some particularly flies and mosquitoes which was the vectors of some pathogens. 9. Fig 02 left traditional phylogeny of insects reflecting the uncertain placement of key groups with aquatic larvae blue, an inferred ancestral state in the common ancestor of Pterygota, the winged insects. Tree topology integrates over a number of historical phylogenies, based on morphological data and/or Sanger sequenced loci. Right phylogenomic tree of a resolved Polyneoptera, red, from the Supramatrix analyses of Whippler et al. 2019 reflecting the ancestral state reconstruction of an aquatic larval stage. The insect's phylogeny is the sequential study that underlies various macroevolutionary phenomena, such as the winged flight evolution, Fig 02 parental care, interaction study with plants, and morphological specializations for diverse modes of feeding, specialization of mouth 10.